Spores, welcome back to the Two Fun Guys podcast. We have a very special episode for you today. We have Jesse Elder. This is one of those episodes that you just want to share with everybody. And just having this conversation had a deep impact on me. Sure, it had a profound impact on you.
Very much.
Before we get into this episode, we want to promote our mushroom sauna hat. As you know, if you watched other episodes, we got into Amazon 3-4 years ago, and we realized that just getting into a business to make money was not the move. And doing something that we're passionate about, want to do something very creative, and having this podcast to help people's minds expand, help you improve your health, fitness, and just have fun and spark more fun in your life. We created this product because Austin is all about mushrooms and saunas. And so if you want to support us and rock the dopest sauna hat to ever exist on planet Earth, check it out at tfgpod.com. We appreciate the support, and we'll get into this episode.
All right, Spores, what's up, everybody? Jesse Elder.
Here we are.
Thank you for coming.
It's been a long time coming.
Long time.
Yeah.
So there's a million directions that I want to take this, and we'll probably hit 500,000 of those directions. But quick backstory. So Jesse, you and I have kind of rotated around each other for a little while. And when I moved to Austin, two people that I respect and consider close friends both said, you know who you got to meet? It's this guy, Jesse Elder. And then when we got here, you and I met at an insane party, just ran into each other. This crazy party with flamethrowers and aliens.
Oh, yeah.
And
Jello wrestling.
Jello
wrestling. Yeah. National anthem playing. It was
powerful.
Crazy times. And and then I just kept following your content. I really started enjoying it and seeing value to it. And then I joined your Sigma group, which was incredible. And and you and Brent have known each other in passing a bit.
Yeah, we just always run into each other at Sun Life randomly.
Sun Life, the watering hole of Austin's vibrational elite.
Absolutely.
That's a good way to view it.
So, yeah, man, I mean, we're both super excited to talk to you. And
we've also, Arminta, she was actually our very first guest.
Araminta was our very first guest.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I did ISTA with her, and did you do it with her?
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
These are all connected.
All full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, there's a million directions. I think the first place I want to go is learning more about your background and how you got to here. Because I know about your martial arts background. You own martial arts schools, taught people how to run martial arts schools. And then to me, there's this blank spot where you now become this, like you've mastered all these crafts of copywriting and business and men's work and leadership and all these things. So I'm curious about that middle ground and sort of this transition between being in the business world and then coming into like leading groups and spirituality.
Well, that's a hell of an intro, gentlemen. This gives me a sense of where we're going to go. And it's really good to be here. Like just knowing each of you guys personally and not even knowing that you knew each other, not even knowing that you had a podcast until more recently. And here we are. So, to explain all that, it'd probably be useful to go backwards for a second. I was born in Austin, and my parents, absolutely remarkable beings. They, according to each of them, verified separately much later in my life, when I was born, they allegedly looked at me and said, we feel like this kid is going to know what he needs for himself more than we do. So we're just going to love him and stay out of his way. And they did. And as a result, I had a remarkable childhood, tons of love, just absolute support. There was never any question of, are you loved? Are you worthy? None of that. It was all just affirmed. And there was massive carte blanche to do whatever you feel like you wanted. And so as long as the chores are done in the morning, it's like, we'll see you at dinner. Have a good day. And I'm like 6.
Wow.
And just free reign to roam around the neighborhood.
Total free reign. And it was, people have heard this before and they're like, that sounds like abandonment. Like, no, that's only because most 6-year-olds are helpless. But like a proper 6-year-old, capable than most millennials today. So danger is what makes humans be really good at being human. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have the presence of danger or risk in your life, you just really never learn to trust yourself. And if somebody doesn't trust themselves, then it makes it very hard for others to trust them. And because that, especially those early years, were so filled with just adventures, and I just remember just playing in the backyard for hours and like figuring out how to make a rope swing. Once I got we got the rope swing up there, then I was looking at the top of the house and realized the end of the rope will reach the top of the house. And how do I do that? And it was a very Tom Sawyer childhood, and, read a ton, and my parents just had this amazing philosophy, just kind of experimental attitude. They were just like, we just trust that this is going to work. And there was always this relationship between freedom and responsibility, that every time I wanted to have a new freedom, I wanted to stay up later or whatever. Usually my mom, she would say, well, that's a new freedom. So what's the new responsibility you're going to take on? And I'd say, well, I'll do the dishes. She's like, that's already your job. Like, okay, I'll change my baby brother's diapers, or do the laundry. She's like, that's also already your job. I'll feed the chickens. She's like, also your job. Mow the lawn. She's like, done. Like, damn it. Rusty push mower in South Texas in the summer because I wanted to stay up late and watch Saturday Night Live. But I got the lawn done and got to stay up late. And that connection was formed pretty early in my life, and it was very consistent. And we also were intentionally below right at the poverty line. And this is something I didn't even remember until my dad died a couple of weeks ago, that he's a school teacher. He had a bunch of odd jobs and intentionally decided that our family was going to live on enough money that he wouldn't have to pay taxes because he didn't believe in funding war. Mm-hmm. So he intentionally kept his income low, which now that I understand all the law stuff, I was like, oh man, you could have.
If only you knew what we know now.
Your earning power, Dad, is really good. And if you could have still been a non-taxpayer, wouldn't that have been cool? But then I wouldn't have changed anything because, what you lack in resources, you generate in resourcefulness. And so it was just an incredibly creative childhood. All that to say, thanks for coming to my therapy session. We'll
bill you.
Please do. I'll pay you in rope swing making classes. The idea behind not being interfered with, not being surveilled, not being programmed and conditioned and prescribed, even if it's coming from love. The love that I received growing up was deeply emotionally intelligent, but tactically absent. It was like, we love you so much, we're going to let you fuck up. We love you so much, we're going to let you experience the full consequence of all of your choices. Reward, punishment, life is going to reward you. Life is going to punish you. That's not our job. So no, I never got spanked. I don't even remember ever getting scolded or yelled at. It was more just like, how'd that work out for you? And it happens to this day. So all that to say, I'm still doing it. I mean, I'll be 52 in November, and I'm still living that unschooled life. Like, I wake up every day, I'm like, what do I want to do today? What would be the most fun that would make the biggest impact? And if it doesn't make an impact, it's really not very fun. And if it's not fun, then how can it make an impact? And so those are the sort of lenses that I look through.
So I'm curious, were your parents the same way with your siblings? Did they give them the same level of freedom?
Yes.
And do they, as adults, do they have the same mentality that you have? Or did they take a different approach or a new variant on it?
It's a great question. I have 3 brothers and a sister. They all have families. Each one of them is so uniquely themselves, which means that we went in 5 totally different directions, because there's no, homogenous, like, this is what the elder family is going to do.
Yeah, life taught them, not the family.
Exactly. This is not like the Dutton Ranch, like you're going to be a cowboy. It's like, do you. And so we went in very different directions. And yet we're just unified by this I guess, appreciation of each other's gifts and strengths, and where we have differences, they're just not a big deal. It's beautiful to see.
I'm curious. So they basically use life as the disciplinary tool.
Right.
Like let life show you the boundaries.
Right.
But in the house, like if you did something you weren't supposed to, was there disciplinary actions in that? Like there's certain things you got to like respect your mom or do this, or those were never issues because you had freedom. So everybody kind of got along.
Dude, I just got chills, man. There's a lot of nuance in that question. Most humans in general, since the Civil War, have gone through a public schooling system, which is specifically designed to, above all else, create a fixed habit of reaction to authority, which implies the existence of an authority, which is total bullshit. There is literally no such thing as absolute authority outside of nature, natural law. So most parents, and most adults, even if they don't have kids, still somehow there's like this vestigial memory of being in school and like, what's the right thing to do? I will look around and see what everybody else is doing to not get in trouble or to get what they want. And I'm going to watch that authority figure and see what do they reward, what do they punish? And people grow up with that. And then they become an adult, allegedly. And then they project that same thing back onto kids like, oh shit, if they're not like corrected and motivated and rewarded and bribed and, threatened a little, if that doesn't happen, what would happen to the kid? This is what happens to the kid. You become yourself. And so the innate desire to connect with people that you love and care about, it eliminates this twisted sort of social game of like, how do I manipulate? How do I get what I want? How do I put on a smiling face for mom and then a serious face for dad? Like that wasn't there. We squabbled all the time, but they would like sort it out. Like my two of my brothers would get in these just raging fights, and my parents would just say, go in the front yard.
Duke it out.
Duke it out. Like, do what you need to do. And there were a handful of times where I experienced conflict with my father, where like when I was 16, he was like, you're doing great and you're going to get your GED. Like at least do that. And I wanted so badly to please him. Because it was one of the first times one of the only times that I remember him saying, this is what I want you to do. But by then, I had already become the product of the childhood that he and my mom created. And I remember cracking open that GED book and feeling completely retarded. And I was like, this makes no sense. None of it interests me. I'm going to go drill my reverse sidekick on the heavy bag in the backyard. Because that's what I was doing. That's what I loved. And so I kept avoiding it. And then finally I was like, Dad, I'm not getting my. And then I moved out when I was 17. And that experience, I know that I believe that it caused him a lot of concern because he went to Catholic University up north. He was a school teacher, was so outside of the system and yet worked within the system is incredible. But I believe that hurt him, to not be listened to by his son. But it just led to so many other things. And many years ago, I guess now, we were talking about business and I shared with him how much I made. And he just kind of thought about it. He said, that's more than I think any 4 years of my life put together. And he was like, so that's what you made this year? I said, that's what I made this month, Dad. And then he just kind of looked at me and said, you're going to be okay. Fucking 46 years old, Dad. I'm going to be fine. It was such a gift. When I moved, I had the place downtown at 6G, badass condo, 60th floor, tallest building. It was wonderful. I moved out of there, moved in with my dad and got to live with him for 2 months while he was dying. And it was fuck.
Can you tell us more about that experience? Because so many people don't see death as a gift because there's two sides to that coin.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot.
I don't see death at all.
Yeah.
It's a subscription. Like, and I believed that my whole life. Like there wasn't a book or anything. Books that I read, substances that I experienced, sober experiences of near death. every single one was just confirmation. No, it wasn't revelation. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. It was like, no, we can't fucking die. Like, take off shoes, put on shoes. You take off your shirt, put on your shirt. Take off clothes, put on clothes. You know, get in this car, get out of that car. Get in that truck, get out of that truck. But there's an us that's doing all those things. Go up one dimension. It's the same fucking thing with our soul. It's putting on this body and like, oh wow, this is cool. And it's like we fucking won our soul's on easy level, like straight white North American male. Like, make it as easy as possible.
Won the lottery on that one.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. So far, I mean, I'd
we
re-up
could
on
end
this.
up being the hunted ones wearing the bonnets with the fucking the hand. What's the male version of a
Handmaid's
handmaid?
Tale?
Yeah,
Oh,
what's the male version of a handmaid?
Oh, I don't know.
Handman sounds awful. No, but I've never believed in death, man. I've never been able to take it seriously. I had the childhood fears of like, oh, I was riding my bike one time and there's a dead squirrel on the side of the road, and I'm this little feral, 7-8-year-old kid. I pull off the bike, look at the squirrel, and it was dead. And I'm like, something's not connecting in my mind here. It looks like a squirrel. But what I know of as this thing called squirrel is this lively, jumping, chattering, eating nuts, fucking throwing them at you. Like that thing is squirrel. This is not squirrel. And I remember sitting there, I'm puzzled, and the fucking universe is so perfect. I'm looking at this thing, having this little conversation in my 8-year-old brain. Like, it looks like a squirrel, but it's not a squirrel. And at that moment, there's some wind blowing and there's like leaves blowing by, and a candy bar wrapper blows over the body of the squirrel. I'll never forget. It was a Butterfinger wrapper. And this candy bar wrapper blows over the body of the squirrel. And I was like, oh, that's not the squirrel. That's the wrapper for the squirrel. That's just the wrapper. But the essence of the squirrel is not there. And so that really solidified something for me. And then years later, when one of the matches that I was in, I ended up gloriously hospitalized with a collapsed lung. I was just laying in the hospital bed. My left lung is collapsed. And it's like, this is the worst night of my life. I just got my ass beat in front of everybody. Dude was 30 pounds heavier, but it's a no rules, no weight limit, no time limit competition. So that's fair. Plus his corner had covered him in Vaseline. So I couldn't take him down. So it was beating. I got so beat up, and I'm laying in the hospital bed. I'm like, and I'm looking up at the hospital lights, and I'm asking myself, like, how am I? Like, am I okay? And the answer that came in was, I'm fine. And I'm like, well, who's the me that got his ass beat, worst night of his life, hospitalized? Who knows what the medical bills are going to be? Probably not going to have any karate students left after watching their instructor get his ass kicked. My family is traumatized because my whole family was there. My little kid sister was just watching me get mauled. And so these thoughts are going through my mind. Well, that's the me that got his ass kicked, but who's the me that's fine? It was like clicking a hyperlink on like Cosmic Google. And it was totally sober. This is like almost 20 years before I did any kind of substances. It was just a native experience. And looking there at the lights, and I'm having this, wasn't even a conversation. It just felt like instructions. It was that you have a body, but you're not your body. And then I remember the squirrel. I was like, oh, okay, these bodies are the wrappers. But then what's the candy bar? And it was so clean. It was so simple. Is that you're what you guys call energy, but it's a very specialized energy. It's a very personalized energy, and every one of your energy frequency signatures is unique, and it's animating your body. And at some point it will withdraw and the body will just collapse and disintegrate, but then that will continue on. And I'm having this experience while I'm looking up at the hospital lights. I'm in this crazy pain. And then it just hit me like that bulb, the light bulb is illuminated because there's electricity flowing through it. But if you turn the switch and you withdraw the electricity, the bulb goes dark. But it's the same bulb. Weighs exactly the same molecular composition. Like everything about that bulb is the same. It's just either lit up or not lit up. And when that energy withdraws, nothing can happen to the energy. It just reroutes, it goes somewhere else. And I didn't realize it for probably a couple of years, but that was the day that I stopped indulging consciously in irrational fear, including this illusion of the fear of death. We can't die. and I can't judge and I won't judge anybody else's experience. But I've worked with a lot of people through this. I've had so many people have come into the work that we're doing with grief and trauma and like the fear of future sadness and the fear of the pain of past sad events. And they're just like these bags of wounds, man. And I've been there, but that's voluntary too. Mm-hmm. And when I got connected to that reality that we are not our bodies and that we're eternal, like we're fucking infinite light beings. We're eternal. We always have been. We are now. We always will be. Because even that just implies the illusion of time. And time is a very local to this dimension. And you go change a few dimensions, it doesn't behave the same way. So I could never take it seriously. And I went to a funeral. It was one of my employees, actually. She passed away of cancer. And I remember going to her funeral. I was like, I'm here for them because like I'm the boss, but I'm also like, she's fine. She's fine. Like she's gone, body's gone. She's more her than ever. And it's a tough concept if somebody isn't asking for it. So I never share it because it sounds callous.
It's a weird thing to just volunteer.
On casually over drink. So
you guys know she's not dead, right?
By the way. But it's in my experience, it removed any fear of dying. And it's like, then that sort of corresponded with another philosophy of, since I was a kid, I always figured I would live for a long time, like have a body for a long time. I remember reading the Guinness Book of World Records when I was a kid, and the oldest person was like 118 or whatever at the time. And I just remember looking at that thinking, is it amateur? I don't know, man. I was like, I knew that I was going to live a long time. And so then the number 150 started floating around. I thought that sounds pretty cool. And then I started thinking, well, what kills people? Well, I'm not going to die of accidents because there are no accidents. Every single thing that happens in somebody's life is a co-creation. So I'm not going to create any accidents. I've created a bunch, so I know how to create them. And I know the preceding thoughts and energies and expectations that create them, but they're not accidental. So I'll just not do that. And what else kills people? Stress. And since stress is perceptual, why don't I just work on developing superior perceptions compared to where I was at yesterday and see this world through a little more expanded lens, and then your stress goes away. And even when you're in the gnarliest of situations, you have that connection to we're these like cosmic Xbox characters, but our soul is like, yeah. And it doesn't matter what you go through. And this is why I'm very unpopular, which I'm happy with in a lot of spiritual communities, because I don't indulge in trauma bonding, in the trauma industrial complex, trauma-informed coaches who inform you of your trauma. It's like, what? Yeah, but what that thing happened when you were a kid and the Catholic priest, he just put his pee-pee in your butthole and so bad. And your soul's going like, yeah, go to church. Don't go in there. Get fucked in the ass by a priest. Oh man. Okay. Well, level up. We'll spend the next couple of years unpacking that. Your soul doesn't care. Like your soul is fucking invincible. Meanwhile, the soul of the Catholic priest is over there completely disconnected from divinity, indulging in this airplane mode behavior, completely disconnected, goes and fucks a kid and is like, that's a horrible life too. So there are ultimately no victims. And we're all playing this game with each other. And I have so much love for the people who choose, consciously or unconsciously, to be so disconnected from their heart and so disconnected from God and so disconnected from love that they think the only way that they could be safe is to try and control other people. Like that's hell on earth, man. So when I see people who are acting out the role of oppressor or agent or whatever, anybody who claims to have or believes they have authority over another person who can then tell them what to do. Firstly, I'm like, you went to public school, didn't you? But also I'm like, man, it sucks to be you. And I just have love and compassion for those people. And I'm very excited about this conversation for a lot of reasons, but partly because I've been waiting a long time for life to catch up. And I've felt like I've been on the outside for a long time. And it now feels like a lot of this stuff is becoming more people are open to it. And you guys are certainly on the leading edge. So this is cool to have this session.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's so much to unpack out of all that.
I don't know what I just said.
Well,
I don't know. I blacked out too.
It's like
but-
the scene in Old School when Will Ferrell debates James Carville.
Oh yeah, and he just goes
And he
just
like,
goes blank
"Well,
and wins.
According to the research, what happened? I just blacked out.
well, I want to know what were like the couple things that you wanted to touch on. I'll tell you, and then we'll let him just like decide where to go. Because I have a couple things too. I'm like, shit.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm curious about. You're saying that you're waiting for life to catch up, and so now
Waiting for the world to catch up.
So I guess you're saying like you're waiting for the world and the I guess the consciousness of the world to start seeing things the way you saw them as well.
And by the world, I'm not an idealist who says like the world should be
Right.
No.
Change the world. Quote,
Yeah,
unquote.
I mean, I did,
But, like,
I do remember "We Are the World" from the '80s.
We are
It's super gay. It's like, what y'all doing with that money, really? And when I saw Bob Dylan walked out, I was like, no, it's more so, it's lonely, man, and I.
shoes off, boys. Now we're talking.
Anybody got any
I was the only guy with shoes
Yeah,
on.
that's
Anybody
okay.
got any
Never
fresh petties?
Yeah.
No,
There we
that's
go.
going to be screenshot of us. I'm sicko out there.
Totally.
And now we're going to end up on OnlyFans with like our.
Listen,
you know,
you guys can't screenshot this because you got to pay for these fees.
well, my affidavit of status actually forbids that lawfully and legally. So if somebody ever uses any piece of my image without my consent, they're subject to my fee schedule.
Okay. Do we have your consent to post this?
This, yes, but
Okay,
just no OnlyFans.
Okay.
Got it. No virtual AI.
Yeah,
of-
no gay,
No AI porn.
no
of
gay
Jesse.
furry,
Yeah.
role playing.
Okay. Well, that just really shoots
Yeah.
our market.
Great episode, guys.
But
Great episode.
yeah, how are we going to market this?
It's 2/3 of our audience.
Yeah, exactly. That was our whole marketing budget. Okay. What were the things you were going to
Well,
go into?
like when you touched on when you're able, like the thing that allows you to live longer is the second component,
Lack
which
of
is
stress.
lack of stress.
Well, lack of distress.
And you said by shifting kind of like,
Perception.
yeah, your perception. I wanted to go in that, but I also still want to go back to the story of you spending time with your dad.
Yeah.
So wherever.
Yeah, let's go there.
Yeah.
Let's go there. Do you guys have any nicotine by chance?
No, I have some caffeine, yerba mate.
If
you want.
Do you? Yeah.
He's got nicotine.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I've practiced. Thanks, dude. I've practiced something called vice rotation for a while, where it's like
I
you
like this.
never stick with one vice for too long.
You can never be pinned down as an addict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Smart.
it's ultimate addict behavior, really.
Yeah, but you're controlling the perception of it. So
I'll use this thing.
Yeah.
you're like,
To
no,
wean off
you're
that
like,
thing.
I haven't done nicotine in months,
Yeah,
but I'll circle
just
back.
rotation.
Yeah, don't worry.
Well, one of the ultimate addictions is sobriety.
Hmm.
It's like people are so addicted to being sober. It's like, chill out. Anyway, not legal advice or medical advice, for God's sake. Thank you.
Yes.
So I moved in with my dad May 16th of this year, 2025. Completely unlooked for. I've been getting the feeling for a while that I was going to leave downtown, and then things started to like just become unignorable. Like business was getting wonky, and I was like, man, something's up. So I thought maybe I'm supposed to travel or be nomadic again. The day after I put in notice at 6G that I was, okay, I'm done. The next day I got a text from one of my brothers, and he said, man, dad's fate fast. It's like, he said, so are you going to move in with dad? Like, holy shit. And I just started crying. I was like, this is perfect. Yes. So I put most of my stuff in storage, moved down there, and was able to be with him. I wasn't staying there all the time. I still come back to Austin for clients and projects. But it was so incredible to be at that slower speed. Partly because he's just always lived a simple life. And he is the most productive person I've ever met. Like I've never knew him to be idle, like at all. He'd take a nap once in a while for like 30 minutes and that was it. But he was always making things. He was always doing things for people. And so when Parkinson's began to set in, he was diagnosed 14 years ago. Like that was the hardest for me. I can't speak for my siblings or for my mom. But getting to be with him and just his pace of life, like it had to be so intentional because, his body's, not reliable. his speech. It was just so hard for his speech to get out. And you could tell it was just maddening for him because he's this brilliant guy, like absolutely brilliant and so compassionate and just wants to do things for people. And now he can't get a word out. And we'd just be sitting there and we'd be sharing a meal or, going for a walk down to the post office and, he'd have his walker. And he'd want to say something and he would just look at me and he would just like, and his face is kind of frozen because of Parkinson's. You just see the fucking fire in his eyes and he's pissed, He's like, you just can't get the word out. And it was so incredible to just love him, and just like, got it, Dad. Take all your time. And then he would, and then he would get it out and then he'd be on a roll. But he told me one time, he said it's very frustrating to know what I want to say and not be able to say it. And I just told him, I said, Dad, as far as I remember, for like first 4 years of my life, I didn't talk either. And you were pretty patient with me. So full circle. And a couple of years ago, I was visiting him and he was sharing some regrets that he had about, stuff from growing up. And I said, Dad, as I told you guys, I can't speak for my brothers or my sister. But those things that you just mentioned that you have regret around, like they were some of the best things that ever happened to me. Because I got to take the positive parts of that, like seeing you live your principles, seeing what it looks like when somebody cares about something more than themselves, even more than their family. And I got to take that and turn that into a central part of my life. And also, like, I got to practice forgiveness and I got to learn what it's like to love, even if the impact wasn't what you intended. And he just kind of smiled. And then he drops this on me. He says, I don't know if I taught you how to live well, but I intend to teach you how to die well. I was like, good one, Dad. God damn it.
Wow. That's a gift.
Dude.
That's a gift.
It was incredible. And then that was a couple of years ago. Fast forward, I'm now living with him. And, took a couple of doctor's appointments. And I've got two brothers and their families that live in San Antonio. So we'd see them. And the whole family flew in for a really nice time, a couple of days, a few months ago. And we really felt like that was it. And that was like right when I first moved in. And so I thought it was like now. And I'd go in and check on him in the morning and he's breathing. Okay. And then that's just persisting for like weeks. I'm like, okay, so he's not like, it's not going to happen right now. But he had been researching something called VSED, which is voluntarily stopping eating and drinking. And he had a book on it and it says, VSED, voluntarily stopping eating and drinking, a widely available method to accelerate the dying process. I'm like, it's great copy. It is indeed widely available. Like basically anybody on earth can do this. And so he's researching it and what to expect. And then we decided he decided, and as a family, we decided that it was time to start hospice at home. So we had a great outfit, devoted hospice. And, they brought over the bed, it's got the controls and, brought meds if he needed them, diapers, because at some point he's not going to have the energy to get out of bed. And then they sent a social worker to like ask some questions. And then they brought a chaplain, which was hilarious because my dad is not religious in any way at all. So she's asking him, my mom was there and my dad and my brother, and me and this social worker or the chaplain. And the chaplain says, so, do you have any religious beliefs? He's just sitting there. He goes, no. And that was that. And she's like, well, any spiritual beliefs? And he said, I think everything is on its way from someplace to someplace.
deep.
And she was like, okay, so you're good. He's like, yes. And that was that.
Wow.
She left. As soon as she left, my mom looks at my dad. She says, when do you want to start the process? He just thought for a second. He said, right now. My brother and I both had the same idea. He grabbed his phone, screenshotted the time, and I started a timer.
Wow.
And that was 11:26 a.m., July 21st. And my brother from Chicago flew in. My sister flew in from LA. And for 11 days, we had to be in the house with it. And everybody, our family's so fucking awesome, man. Everybody just knew what everybody else needed. There was never encroachment. There was never negligence. Everybody just flowed. So, the two brothers that lived there, they had their homes. My brother from Chicago, he'd stay there. And then he was like, okay, I need some space. He'd get a hotel. And my sister, it was awesome. And that process of, like, I took a picture and he very explicitly said, I don't want any pictures, no videos. Like, you guys take pictures of whatever you want, but like, this is my experience. He would never say that. He would never, ever assert himself like that. But I did take a picture of his last cup of coffee. And there's so many little moments like that. So he wasn't eating, wasn't drinking. And he had us read a chapter in this VSED book, bookmarked it. He's like, I want you guys to read that part. And it basically said that when somebody's going through this process, that there's a chance that they'll be so, like in between worlds, and they'll forget why they're not drinking, and they'll forget why they're not eating, and they'll ask for water. And he pointed that, he's like, you guys remember that? So it was day 10, and I was there. Two of my brothers were there, and I went in to check on it. And he was, he would sign. So, if he needed, we had like 0.25 or 0.025, morphine ampules. And when the pain got a lot, he would ask for one, but he asked for like 4 over the whole time. Or he'd ask for the window to be opened so he could turn the AC off, little things. But I went in there and I just sat next to him and, just grabbed his hand and he was starting to see things. He was like going there. And then he just kind of turned and looked at me. It's like this. He goes like, yeah. It was like this. Oh, fuck.
That's hard.
Man. It was hard. And, but I just grabbed his hand. I said, Dad, we can't give you, can't do it. And then he just goes like this. Just goes.
You passed the test.
Like that. I'm like, holy shit, man. And I would go out and like, and then somebody else would go in. It was perfect.
And you would test them too.
Yeah, well, probably so. I know him. It wasn't a test. It was more just like,
You like remembered.
either he remembered or he was just at, he
was like, fine.
he had no
Don't give it
choice
to me.
but to be at peace with it.
Yeah.
That's my story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally it was August 1st, and we could just see his breathing was really slowing down, and he was not lucid. It was so incredible, man. He was in and out for like those last 2 days, even to the point of wanting to get up, and he couldn't stand. So we would like hold him and like carry him and like he'd move his feet and he'd want to go around the house, and he sat down at his old typewriter and was trying to type us something, and it made no sense at all. And then after that, he would like reach down to the floor and start doing that. And later I was like, oh, he's petting his dog.
Wow.
His dog that died a couple of years ago. He'd be in bed and just look up and take his head, putting on a hat or something. And his feet were going like this. And my mom was like, he's riding his bike. I was like, God. So we're just watching him just in and out. And then finally his eyes were closed. And we were all in the room with him. And we just watch his breathing just slow. And His heartbeat is getting weaker, and then there was a you could feel it, like the amount of love is indescribable. My experience, and he died at 3:51 p.m. August 1st in the same room that a couple of my siblings were born in. And I remember I was a kid. It was all home births. I was the only one born at hospital. They were all born at home. I watched all of my siblings enter this world. And it was the exact same frequency of him leaving this one. And my brother, who's a firefighter, had a stethoscope, checked him and checked his watch. And we were just all just so still and silent. And then everybody just knew what to do. And my mom and my sister began to anoint his body in oil. And my brothers went to the truck and put the back seat up. And I went in the kitchen, did some woo stuff. And then we wrapped his body in a sheet. My mom and sister had wrapped his jaw in gauze so he wasn't presentable. He wanted to be cremated in one of his favorite T-shirts, Vietnam Veterans Against the War. It was a big organization he's part of. Folded the T-shirt up, put it on his chest, and wrapped the sheet in a tarp, duct taped the tarp. And then I grabbed his head and shoulders, and my other brother grabbed his legs, and we picked him up and carried his body through the living room, down the front steps, out the front yard, put him in the back of the truck, back seat. And then two of my brothers drove that truck, and then the rest of us were another one. We drove way deep south side San Antonio to this funeral home that he had picked out to be cremated at. And the whole time, man, we're just, the love is indescribable. I mean, I don't know if any of your audience or you guys have ever heard of MDMA. It's a supplement. This puts that shit to shame. Like, that's why people do drugs, is to feel what's actually always available. And we get there, and we all just start laughing because it was like this 3-acre lot, rural South Texas, chickens running around everywhere, Ghostbusters looking hearse in the front. There's a horse on the other side of the fence. And we're just like laughing, like he would love this. So we got his body, put it on the gurney, had a great conversation with the funeral director, really good dude. And then my brother said, our dad had a titanium rod in his leg because he fell a couple of years ago. He said, we want that. I was like, all right, it might be a little, twisted from the heat, from the fire, but we'll get it back to you. And then we all just kissed his head and got back in our trucks and drove back home and had dinner. And I want to be very aware and observant to the fact that my experience of this is mine. This story that I'm sharing is my story to share. My siblings all have their version of it. My mom has her version of it. But in the days that followed, there's never a sense that he was gone. If anything, for me, the sense that he was gone was when Parkinson started to set in. And that's when I got to confront, like, oh shit, my dad's going to fucking die. And the sadness and the grief and the loss and but I remember being a kid and being so scared that my parents are going to die. Like, I wasn't afraid of death. I didn't even think death is real, but my parents, like, I don't want, normal. And I remember being a kid, and for whatever reason, man, my little homeschooled Tom Sawyer brain figured that the best thing to do if I'm afraid of this sadness is to feel as much of it as I can. So I would be laying in bed, 9 years old, and imagining my parents dead. Like, I would just try and picture them in a coffin and like make myself as sad as I could just to like get it over with. And I remember telling myself, like, that's, you could be sadder. Like there's more, there's more. Cause I was a kid training Taekwondo. So I understood repetition and the love of the intensity of it. Somehow my brain connected that to emotions. It's like, no, be sadder, man, be sadder. And I would just be bawling silently because our family had all slept in the same room, this little trailer that we lived in for a while. And I didn't want to wake them, but I was like, more, let me feel more. And that's a big part of what stimulated so much of my curiosity about life and death. And like, what is this whole thing? It's to be ready for him. And then eventually for my mom. So when it actually happened, I mean, nothing prepares you for it. It's not like you can practice and visualize and all this, but it was so, yeah, man, just love. Like I've believed and have taught, shared my experience of this for a long time, that sadness is really just love looking for a home. And if we don't express that love or allow ourselves to receive that love, then sadness is the byproduct. Sadness is the signal that you're just not giving love and you're not receiving love. Especially for men, way easier to give than to receive. How are you? Good. How about you? Good. Let's go produce. But when we're producing, we just want love. We want appreciation. We want recognition. We want money. But why do we want money? Because it means that we can protect and provide and be loved. It's so simple. And so there's many moments where, like I had one a couple of days ago. I was at the house, and I could feel a lot of energy moving. Like, all right, go do this. So I went and sat in the room that he passed in. Sat down in the chair, and I'm sure you guys do this, but there's like pieces of music, that you can use to like really get in the vibe. And there's a track, it's on Spotify. It's a Johns Hopkins psychedelic playlist, actually, great playlist. But there's a track in there, and it's like some 16th century hymn, and it's called O Magnum Mysterium. And it's got chills again, man. And there's so many beautiful versions of it. The vocal version, it's all in Latin, but it's about the animals that were in the manger Jesus was born. And it's about the animals. It kind of makes no sense, but it's about Jesus and it's about the animals. And it's the way it's written, even. It's like copywriters should check this shit out, because there's open loops in this hymn that then get closed and callbacks. And it's like, this is crazy. But the instrumental version is just all strings and horns. And so I just pressed play, and I sat in that chair and just fucking just let it go. And I'm sobbing, man, just like when I was a kid, like 9 years old, just let it out. And then I get this feeling in my body, like, you shouldn't do this sitting, like do it like a man, like grieve like a fucking man. So I stood up and I just put my chest back. And it's harder to sob when your chest is open. But if you can do it, man, if you can ever get there, like sob while your chest is open and your chin is up and you're looking up and your arms are back, whole different level. And what came up was all these memories of like when I was a kid, and like how thoroughly you love when you're a kid. Like, it's like the fiercest innocence, unconditional. Like you just love because you just love. And I remember the first girl I had a crush on, and I was like, she was my first love. And then we were like friends growing up, and then we both like went through puberty together. And one day I was like, oh my God, well, like what just happened? And I was going to go to her house. I was like 15, 16. I think I was 16 because I had a car. And I was going to go to her house and like bring her flowers and just tell her how I felt. I get there, and I'd grown up in her house, basically. Our families were very close. And I walked in, and she's like, hey, Jesse. And her parents are there. And she's like, oh, I want you to meet this guy. Fucking Kevin.
Fucking Kevin, dude. It's always a Kevin.
And I was like, hi. And she gives me a hug, and I'm just like in instant erection, And he's like, oh, how's it going? Oh, she's told me so much about you. Can't say the same. And they're like, do you want to stay for dinner? They're going out, but do you want to stay for dinner? I'm like, no, I just want to stop by and say hi. And luckily I'd left the flowers in the car. And I went back in the car and I was like, God damn it. And that was my first heartbreak. And I felt the gap between that childlike love and the yearning of this young man, 16-year-old kid with that same love. Boom, denied. And that memory's coming up and I'm just like, let it out. And then it was like a parade of heartbreaks. The time I loved this one, the time I loved that one, the time I loved that one. Nope. And I'm like, let it out. And then everything just got quiet. And then it was a message, which I'd received many times before, but that you can't lose love. You can only close your heart. And when your heart closes, then you attract closed-hearted experiences. You attract people that can't receive the love that you're not feeling. But when you open your heart and you surrender to that shit, which very hard, very uncommon, especially with so many distractions and false idols and everything. But I'm standing there as this fucking track is just reaching a crescendo, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go until there isn't any more, and I just let it all out, and then just finished. And I looked in the mirror. He had this dresser. And I looked in the mirror, and I saw my 9-year-old, and I saw the 16-year-old, and I saw all the other. It was like my face was like a parade. I was like, this guy. And I felt like a weight was just off my chest. Fuck, man. And that for me, and I don't like the word lessons because it implies like public school, but experiences. The experience of my father being released or releasing himself from his physical body that had played its part. And in my belief system, just completely reuniting with the fullness of what he really is, like final form, and the bliss that I know comes from that. Like, I'm so happy for him to get to have that experience. And I don't have any need for a sign or, whatever. It's like, I know he's good. He's always here. His principles live on in me. And it's been a somewhat brutal but beautiful experience of shedding everything that's not those principles. And it was yesterday. I was down at Sun Life Organics, and I was going to meet somebody, and I had a few minutes. So I'm sitting down, and I'm feeling that love again. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to hit that track again. I'm going to put that track on and just go for love this time, and let it be sadness that becomes love, or just love that becomes more love. I don't care. So I put in my headphones, press play, and I'm sitting right by ABBA and Sun Life, that little thoroughfare. Very beautiful place. So I'm sitting in one of those chairs, and I've got my journal in case anything comes through, and I'm listening to this, and the fucking tears just start flowing. But it was like, I felt like I was lifting off the chair. Like, it was just this light experience. And I'm just looking at the fucking sky. Everything's so beautiful, and just tears are pouring down my face. And right at that crescendo, I go to open my journal to write, and I look at the blank page that I had turned to was the 3 digits that are his address, which are very meaningful in our family. Like, my sister has a tattoo of those numbers, and like, it's the house we grew up in. And I turn the page, and that's the page of the journal, is those 3 numbers. As the fucking song is hitting that same crescendo. And I was like,
crazy.
I get it. And that was yesterday. And I've been just enjoying it, not even processing, just enjoying it, and getting so connected back to that childlike feeling of love, that innocence of what it's like to be in that. And I could just see how much of my life relationally has been avoidant because of the fear of getting hurt, which is in no way original. But the way that I dealt with that when I wasn't in a relationship, I was like, well, I got this strong provider instinct, And, I want to be like a light in a dark place. Where's a dark place that I can go be a light in? Strip clubs, obviously. So I've spent tons of time in strip clubs. And I recognize, and I've known it, but it was like really sunk in that's just an ultimate delay mechanism. It's not like you don't know that, or you go to a strip club, you're like, I'm looking for love. No, you're not. I mean, it's not going to happen. Probably. But just to see all of that with love, and to see all the people whose lives I've gotten to touch and who have touched my life, and to feel just the ultimate rightness of it all, that there's like, you can't get it wrong.
Wait, hold on. So what was the point of being in the strip clubs?
Well, just that was, it was like avoidance on steroids.
Okay.
Because it's going there and having proximity and being like this protector, provider sort of,
Right.
temporary thing, but it's anti-intimacy.
Mhm.
It's the exact opposite of intimacy. And it's a part of this human experience. And I've learned a long time ago, like not to judge experiences. As long as nobody's getting hurt, and as long as you're not getting hurt, like we've had this conversation many times, do no harm, take no shit. And that's a big bandwidth. And so I've lived my entire life between those two barriers. But I also recognize, because of this awareness, awakening, and maybe it's not harm, but it's unnecessary pain. Unnecessary pain for sure that I was creating for myself, which then by default has to create pain for others. And I recognize that, and I don't do regrets. I don't find them useful. But I can feel remorse. I can feel the like, oh, and it's just like a tenderness, for anybody that's involved, for me, feeling, oh, what we're actually trying to get at is love. Like, that's all we want. And my dad's legendary death was the most peaceful, beautiful, intense, at times just so fucking savage. And it was just this catalyst for this remembrance. It's all love. And the energy that's coming from that, like I'm surrendered to it. Like, whatever that wants me to do is what I'm going to do.
Well, yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you guys.
You took us on a ride, man. I think what really stands out to me in that story, like zooming out at it, is the full circle aspect of it, where your parents gave you this freedom as a kid, and it was go learn your lessons, go be you. And then fast forward many years, you're then giving the same to your father in his last few years. And you have this compassion and love for him to have his experience, whatever that is. And
it's a great connection. Yeah.
And you telling us what's going through your mind and how you're perceiving all of it makes me wonder, rewind 50 years, what were your parents thinking as they were giving you that ultimate freedom? What were the concerns, the thoughts? Because, they have to let you go be you and do seemingly dumb shit as a kid, which we're going to do. What were their concerns? What were their thoughts? And how were they perceiving this whole thing?
So think about that.
Yeah. Like, put me in their shoes.
There's another, it's like one of our family stories. And they both have shared this many times as we've talked about our individual life paths and the roles that we play in each other's lives. And according to them, again, I was too little to remember, but I was probably 2 or 3. And we must have been in Long Island. That's where my mom is from. And so we're on the beach, and there's this blanket, and my mom's sitting down, my dad's sitting down, the water's there, and I'm there. And according to them, I get up and I start walking towards the water, and they checked in with each other, and they're basically like, how far do we want to let him go before we intervene? And they both decided then and there that we're not going to intervene. Like, He'll come back when he's ready to come back.
Hmm.
And according to them, I went down to the little water and then just started walking up the beach. And as I walked up the beach, I would turn and look at them. And in my recollection of this story, they didn't encourage, they didn't warn.
They were totally neutral.
They were just there. They were just watching. And I believe, having worked with a lot of kids through martial arts and having a connection to that kid that I was on that beach, that walking down the beach and looking and seeing that you're still being observed by those that love and protect you is just enough to know that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's an empowerment that comes from that. And so according to them, I just kept walking down the beach until I was almost out of sight, and they let me go. And then I just came back. And through that experience of going to the edge, going to the edge, going to the edge, going to the edge, and never receiving a warning, be careful, watch out for the priests or whatever, none of that was there. So I got to truly have my own experience without any interference, neither encouragement nor caution. And then when I came back of my own accord, that pattern just continued to play out. And my parents did an amazing job with all five of us, because as you know, we've run lots of different, my mom would call it experiments. I'd have a brother who'd get in trouble for, get busted with pot or something. And she'd be like, yeah, he's just running some experiments. It was like ultimate love, man. And that led to a philosophy for me later, where I was journaling one day, and I love acronyms probably way too much. Like, it's like Beautiful Mind sometimes. It's like everything's an acronym. But it just hit me one day. I'm like, oh, love. And I just wrote it out, and it's letting others voluntarily evolve. And I was like, damn. Also seems hyper avoidant, but there's good parts of it too.
Yeah, I think the balancing act to it is, because I'm picturing the story of you on the beach and your parents watching you. That's a great example, because they're not putting a boundary on it, and they're letting you love, right? Evolve on your own. But you can sense their presence and their protection is still there. And that is the missing ingredient, that if you don't have that, then it's abandonment.
Bingo.
And so if you are still...
Tony, you nailed it, dude.
If you're still grounded and you let your kid go do whatever, but know that you're there for them and they can always come back to safety, then there's this ability to go push the edge, push the edge, push the edge, and then you find your own boundary. And then you have this level of safety, knowing that you can come back home at any time.
That's powerful. I never connected it like that. That's it. That's it. Because it's the potential protection.
It would be so different if you looked back and they were like on their phones or doing something else, right? They're like taking selfies.
Right.
Like, oh, I guess they don't give a shit.
Yes.
But the fact that they saw you, but they didn't give you a yes or a no, they just were here. Simple as that.
So good. Yeah. No, that's it, man.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I can't imagine 99% of parents can do that easily.
Maybe not. It certainly wasn't easy for my parents.
Sure.
Any parent can.
Yeah.
And
with practice. Yeah.
And that's the thing. But it also, that like my childhood was the culmination of my parents' values.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see now with perspective, my dad, very non-emotional, but deeply, deeply compassionate. So he expressed love through actions. He expressed love through making things for people, not by saying, I love you, not by saying, great job, not by saying, you're awesome. Like, that was a big deal to hear something like that. But his love was expressed through his actions. And my mom was so nourishing and so nurturing. And I can see now, they divorced when I was 20. So they were divorced for 30 years before he passed. And I can see how, and this is my pure fiction imagination on my part, but I'm imagining that there are parts of her as a woman that needed more demonstration or words of affirmation or whatever it is, and he just didn't have that to give. And so this sort of mostly came in through meditation, that, my experience growing up from her that your feelings are valid, feelings are important. And it was also like the, mid 70s. So it's like we're listening to records that have lyrics like, it's all right to cry, like fucking folk guitar playing. And I believe, or maybe I just like to believe, that she wanted to make sure that I got what he never got. Because he had very intense parents, and he never talked about his childhood. So I can only imagine what that might have been like. And so I could see their dynamic just worked so perfectly because like they understood each other, and what they gave us was just the greatest gift, man. It's just the gift to just be yourself.
So where does all of these experiences and that experience and, through childhood and learning all these things, like where are you now in your life? Like, how are you leading your life, and what is your like drive and mission? Because I think you said fun, but impact. And so now we're here. What is that?
It's a question that I'm asking myself a lot lately, because in that childhood that led to martial arts as one of many activities that they were like, sure, try it, but that's the one that stuck. By the time I was 15, I got my black belt, teaching at 16, moved out at 17, opened my first school when I was 23, and built this chain of schools, had great business partners, built truly industry transforming tools and training philosophies and curriculum and all this stuff. And then I sold in 2012. Along the way, I'd gotten married. And 6 months after the sale of the business, I was divorced. And that was my first relationship that I was ever in. Like I was never dated, never had a girlfriend.
Did you take half after you sold the business?
Wasn't half.
Seems like perfect timing to
she didn't
initiate it.
To her great credit, she didn't take anything.
Okay.
But I willingly gave. And it was a combination of guilt, and concern.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted her to be okay. But the sale of the business basically went to pay for the divorce.
This was your instant family?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She had 3 kids already when we got married. And so in the couple of years following that, 2013, well, mostly 2013, I had no idea what I was going to do, because I knew it wasn't martial arts. I thought it might be like marketing or, coaching, or maybe I'm going to be a speaker. Looking back now, I see that as pure ego. Like I wanted to be known as the guy who could help you make money. But then I was like, look at all these other guys who are like actually really good at it, but none of their stuff resonated with me. It felt hollow. It felt like choreographing your sex life. It's like for 18 seconds, we're going to do this. And after that, here's what's going to happen. It's like a decision tree. Like that's not creative. So I decided that I'm not going to force anything. And it really was just going back to those childhood experiences. What's interesting to me. So I'd just pursue my interests. So I'd train jujitsu, I'd ride my motorcycle or bike at the time. Whenever I had any money, I would just go to a conference, because I figured this is where my future is. And I would go to these conferences, and I legit, like I was so naive, I legit thought that every single person I'm talking to at Traffic and Conversion or I Love Marketing or wherever, I'm assuming everybody I'm talking to is making like $1 million a minute because they're online. Like our business made millions of dollars with brick and mortar locations with a finite number of people in a 3-mile radius. So if you had the internet, you must be making $1 million a minute. I literally thought that. So I would meet people and I would be like, hi, how's it going? And I would just put this intense energy because I legit thought that they were billionaires. Like I'm retarded. I literally thought every single person was a billionaire. So I'm like, tell me about your business. And they're like, oh, well, I do this thing and I sell courses. I was like, that's amazing. Like, how'd you get into that? Because I'm selfishly asking because I'm at zero and I want to know how they did it. And that's how I learned to fight. That's how I learned to run a school. That's how I learned to teach. It's like, how did you do it? And I'll pay you if I can, but how did you do it? So I assumed everybody was way, 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 way higher financially than they actually were. Turned out that assumption from a peaceful, non-needy place is intoxicating for people. And then they started to feel like the version of them that I thought they were. And then they would be like, well, what do you do? And I would totally deflect. I would say, about what? And they're like, haha, no, really, what do you do? I was like, well, I'm a former fighter. I learned that that's, people are like, whoa. Plus they look at you, 6'2", 145. They're like, sure, right. But if you fought, there's a gameness to it and people sense that. And I wouldn't know what to say. But I would basically just tell my story. I did this, and then I sold my business, and now I'm just here to support people. And then that was the pitch. And then people would start to say things like, well, how can we get together? And my very first client, awesome guy, Kevin Thompson, just such a loving dude, great family guy. And he became my first client. And he was, paying me like $4,500 a month to jump on a call once a week. And I knew enough not to undercharge. I also knew that that's the amount that I needed to pay my rent and my car payment. So I was like, it's $4,500 a month. And he was like, deal, overnighted a check. And we worked together for over 3 years, month to month.
When was this?
That was end of 2012, 2013. Okay. Yeah. And we worked together for a little longer. And then my second client was Garrett White, Wake Up Warrior.
Wow.
And it was the same way. Like we were in a conversation at the bar. And then there was this kind of like, all right, you're weird. You're different. And he flew to San Antonio and left as a client and invested 6 figures in my support in helping to wireframe what became Wake Up Warrior. So that period, 2013, literally 2 clients, and then another one would come in. And then I started to figure out that what I was doing had value, but it wasn't value that I'd written down. It was value that was happening in real time by being curious and then drawing on this lifetime of experience and training people and martial arts and sales. And enrolled over 1,000 people from hi in the parking lot to come and try a class to pitch them a $14,000 martial arts membership. So I knew how to sell. I just didn't know how to sell what I was doing. That then that led to me making videos. And so I grabbed my phone one day. I just had a call with Kevin. He was happy. So I make the video, and it was just something about, look, you don't want money. You don't want a cooler house or a bigger car. You don't want the perfect person to treat you the perfect way. What you want is the way those things are going to make you feel. And since it's the feeling that you really want, why not go for the feeling first? And when you do that, this whole universe conspires to become the things that feel the way that you were feeling. And the universe is your dance partner, but you're leading. So go first and feel it. And that was the gist of the video. I had 300 friends on Facebook. I share that video. A couple weeks later, I have more shares on the video than I had friends. And it took away the sadness of the divorce because I felt useful. I felt like, okay, there's some traction. So I called it a mind vitamin. And then I just started making these mind vitamin videos. And I was very open to that flow. Whatever I was doing, when I would feel a message coming, I would stop. I'd pull over on the side of the road and I'd just make a video. And then that became an audience. It became ideas for courses. And so September or November of 2013, I released a course called The Upgraded Life. And that became the first of, I think now we're up to like 112 completely separate courses. And along the way have been some incredible communities. But in this moment now, I can clearly see, why have I always been a serial course creator? Because there's no commitment. I'm going to make a course. You're going to love it. It's going to blow your mind. You're going to meet some other cool people. You're going to pay me what you feel the course is worth and what I feel it's worth. And you're going to get exactly what you paid for. And I'm going to do my best to over deliver. But after 8 weeks, we're complete. I'm done. And I'm free. And that's the double-edged sword. Because excessive freedom, we talked about this so much in Sigma University, excessive freedom is hell because it's absolute isolation. It's like you have so many choices that you're paralyzed. You're so free that you're a slave. On the other end of the spectrum, taking ultimate responsibility, deep devotion, absolute 100% commitment feels like restriction, and it feels like being trapped. And I would feel that in the karate schools, where I'm going to the same room every day for like 12 years. And I felt trapped. I want to travel. I want to meet different people, but I have to teach these classes. And I love my students and I love the business, but I felt trapped. And then one day it hit me. It's like, well, I'm confined to this room, but this room is a vehicle that can take me and take everybody else where we want to be. So I just switched the perception in my mind from I'm trapped in this room to envisioning that business like a fighter jet, and I'm a fighter pilot and I'm strapped in and I'm trapped in the plane, but I'm flying the fucking plane. So I can't move, but the plane can go wherever I want to go. That got me out of feeling trapped in my schools, and business rocketed. And then I was able to move laterally over to do what I'm doing now. But now it's so clear, like the avoidance of commitment because of the fear of losing that childlike, playful Ferris Bueller, energy has also created incredible pain, because for any healthy, I will say man or woman, but we'll never know what women are fully feeling.
Neither will they.
Which is why we all work so well together, because we can just be equally confused at the same time. Shout out Allison Armstrong.
Yeah. She sat in that very chair.
Yeah. No, I've told so many people about that interview. But I recognize that one of the greatest pains is having this love to give and not having a place to put it. And so when I was married and I had a family and 3 stepkids, and like they were my kids, and their dad is awesome. I mean, he and I became really good friends. And we lived in this beautiful house, and I had a golf club membership, and my wife did triathlons and was fucking amazing at it, like went to Kona World Championships. So, the kids were all flying to Kona and the kids are cheering on mom, and, back home, the karate schools are humming, and it was a fucking life, man. It was awesome till it wasn't. And I knew that martial arts wasn't my future. I knew that martial arts was a stepping stone to help me understand myself, understand people, understand basics of business. But I knew that was done. And then when that was done, I really became conscious that the relationship was done too. And since then, I've had some incredible relationships, and have also had some colossal, absolute dumpster fire of relationships, largely because of me. Because when it starts to get a little too good, or freedom's a little too threatened, you're not quite like this perfect image that I have in my mind of this childhood I had, and that crush that if it would have gone the right way would have been like this. So now I'm comparing you to that non-existent reverse ideal. And then every other high point of every other relationship, forget about the bullshit, forget about the drama, forget about the passive aggressiveness and the violence, forget about that. I'm just going to remember all these things, and they're going to get better as they get further in the past. And now I'm going to project that onto you. And if you don't immediately measure up to my reverse high points, this can't work. That's exactly what I've done. And
the equation for constant sadness and disappointment.
Basically, here, you want to be constantly sad? Here's how. And so I'm very curious to see what happens with this new awakening and awareness. And so what am I going to do next? I'm going to keep being me. And I do feel like strategically, tactically, it's very inspiring seeing this setup and what you guys are doing. I will bring the podcast back. I did 52 episodes, but they were all solo. The next one will be called Hero Doses, and it'll be interviews with people.
That's a sick name.
It's a great name.
That's a great name.
Yeah. Well, the first podcast was just Jesse, very, very egoic. And then we had long form, all original improv content, but then we had microdoses. They were like 8 to 10 minute clips.
Nice.
So those are really good. So Hero Dose podcast is going to be a thing.
Based on the names, there may need to be a two fun guys.
I think we need a merger. We need a merger. Yeah. Like just let the mycelium just sort of like
the network collides.
Just real quick, do you have a YouTube or like where people could go check that out? Like now,
podcast is on Spotify.
Okay,
yeah, look up Jesse Elder.
Awesome.
Yep. So the podcast is coming, and I'm born to be a teacher because I'm born to be a student, and the way that I learned to be a student is to have no interference, pure free reign, follow my inspiration, whatever I'm interested in, obsess over it until I develop some skill, achieve some sort of notable, hopefully spectacular result that creates credibility, and then synthesize that into an entertaining, confronting, ultimately loving, but kind of ass-kicking experience of learning so that people make real shifts in their lives that change their business, and it changes their relationship, changes their feeling of their power, knowing that they are the power, that they have access to infinite power. The message has been too big to put into something, which is why I've never been niched. But I think the next piece is formalizing it, building a team using the entertainment model so that the talent only does the thing and then everybody else handles everything else. So booking, promotion. I've done multiple tours and they've always been very pure. But I think having a residency in Austin, just having a consistent show that's different every night, but it will have certain themes. So like a weekly show and one of the decent venue. I think that'll be something worth doing. And
what would these shows be about?
So action philosophy and weaving in comedy, music. Because of the background in facilitation and the immediacy of making something experiential, not just being entertained, is something that I've learned to do and that I've seen great impact in audiences. I was speaking at an event in Toronto about a year ago, last September, and there's like 1,500 people in the audience. I'm on stage. You've got like 15 minutes, and by the end of the thing, 1,500 people are standing up, and I've got the room divided, like the stadium auditorium, and these people, and it's like, go. And all these people are like, ba, ba, ba. And I was like, go. And they're like, ba, 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 go, 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 go. Ah. And then we did a time-piercing meditation. And at the end, I said, thank you very much. My name is Jesse Elder. Taxes are voluntary. Thank you. And just walked off. So it's that kind of vibe, mostly designed to open loops for people while helping them. And I hate this term, and I know this is your expertise, but like regulate themselves, regulate their nervous systems, get back into like, oh, I'm good. Okay. And that's a consistent report that I hear from clients who do the deeper frequency work. They always say the same thing. Like, I feel 50 pounds lighter. Like, I feel like myself again. What the fuck was I thinking for the last 10 years? It's like, oh, all good. You're here now. And you were never not there. You just had to be a retard for a while. Welcome back.
See, I think the things that you teach are so important because like this podcast or being an entrepreneur in general is a pure expression of your like self being expressed without limits. And
that's why we all do it.
And as you're in business, you can like for me at least, I'm trying to find that flow state. And sometimes we hit it, sometimes we don't. Because once you're tapped into that, what you're creating is just like a reflection of you, right? And it's a good mirror. And so what you're doing is just getting to the core of people, helping them to express whatever it is they're trying to kind of like create into the world. At least that's how I'm interpreting some of what you teach.
Yeah.
And that freedom to not have these, like, I don't really have rules and implementation. Like, the school did not program me. Didn't program you either. Like, I barely follow rules. We don't pay taxes.
That's true. We don't.
We're about to, but
we should learn from. I actually want to talk about this. How to the correct way to not pay taxes, because avoiding them is what we're doing.
Well,
It's very different.
I'll plant a seed and we'll continue.
Yeah, we'll come back.
There's avoiding anything that you're obligated to is living in dishonor.
Yeah.
The question is, or the fun game is to look at what are you actually required to do versus what have you signed up for.
How do you play
that was voluntary
correctly?
Yeah. Or exit the game peacefully because it doesn't apply to you.
And it does feel not great. Like,
No,
I don't want
hate
to not, it just kind of happened, and we were trying to make other things and other businesses happen. It just got out of control. And yeah, it's like having a messy room and you're like, I really need to clean that. It's bugging me like crazy.
Yeah.
But to your point, you're right. Like, you don't really follow rules. The programming, we all have a bit of programming. You can't say we're completely unprogrammed, but the type of programming that public school and stuff tries to put in you, I definitely don't see that in you really at all.
Yeah, but I mean, like I resonate with what you're teaching so much, and it like it's a good just having this conversation. That's part of why we do these episodes, because I want people to get so lost in a conversation and have this like deep reflective process happening. You know, you've listened to an episode of like Rogan or something where you just like, I have to share this with every single human being because it just like hits the seed in you and it changes your perception. It's like a hero dose.
Yeah.
Right. And it just opens that. And that's what I enjoy about having these conversations. But that's what entrepreneurship or creating like money or resources or whatever it is it's just that expression through you. And it makes sense. Like when we've had times in businesses, like our business, where things are just like this, it's obviously external things too, but what was going on inside of us where we could have like in order to have, if you're the dance partner of the universe and you're leading, right? For example, this is fun, guys. The more fun you have, the more life will dance with you with fun. But then thinking of other businesses or things we've done, it's like, was I giving an energy or other things or other stresses in our lives happening, whether it's relationships or, deaths or whatever they are, being reflected out of me because I'm not even processing or releasing those emotions. Like your father passing, giving yourself an opportunity to move through that. But if you avoided that, would you now be going a different direction because you didn't actually...
You get colon cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The part about like that what you're creating is a mirror. It's so spot on. And the part about fun is very, it's often misunderstood. And I misunderstand it myself sometimes, because when you've got like ultimate freedom, which also generally means no accountability, you're accountable only to your inspiration and the consequences of the actions that come from your inspiration. Like that could be a fine line for a lot of people. And that was why when I was first working on this philosophy, that it seemed to me that I just looked back and I looked at the times that I was having the most fun. Sometimes you're having like, you don't look like you're having fun. Like I'm pinned under this dude. He's got me in a fucking headlock and I'm about to get my face punched in. You don't look like you're having fun. Like it looks like the opposite of fun. But I remember being in that moment, first grappling tournament I ever went to, and this guy's got me, and I'm just like, this is fucking living right here. This is living.
It's type 2 fun.
It's type 2 fun. That makes more sense. And I just remember, I know what to do. Like, he can't choke me out right now. He's just got me in a headlock from the back. Like, he's got me like this. You can't choke somebody out that way. And there's a fucking dolphin. You cover their blowhole maybe, but you can't get this. And I worked my way out and I got the hook and I got out. I got his back and I tapped him. And I just connected again, responsibility and freedom. Like, take responsibility for your breathing. Are you dead yet? No, you're not dead. You're conscious. Cool. Can you be conscious for another 2 seconds while you buy yourself some time? Cool. And from there, can you advance your position? Yes, you can. Cool. Do that. And I started to see the connection between like I call that fun. Like that is being alive, man. But that's only worth it if it has a positive impact, if it makes a difference. Otherwise, it's just pure hedonism, which then you become this hollow, hungry ghost and you can never get enough and you always need more. And next thing you know, you're an internet marketer. But that is hollow. But so is trying to make a difference from a place of being disempowered and disconnected from your own joy. And so the greatest gift that I've ever been given and that I've ever observed anybody else give is the gift of your own joy. Like when we show up as who and what we are, you can spot your own shit super fast. Like I'll say something, I'll be like, oh man, I was being such a bitch because I was feeling insecure because that guy has a bigger car and I don't have that car. Oh, and that's why I had to make that snarky little comment about something. Got it. And you just start to pop these things, and next thing you know, you're just living in the space of appreciation, like appreciating everything, including fucking Bill Blasio in 2020 with a cheeseburger, mayor of New York. Vaccination. I was like, I appreciate that fucking clown, because how miserable do you have to be a fucking politician? First of all. Secondly, how miserable do you have to be to eat a fucking cheeseburger in front of the television? Like, you can't be happy, bro. Like, you can't be living your best life. So you're living the false life.
If you're a puppet, you have someone's hand up your ass and you're probably not enjoying it.
It's a Two Fun Guys t-shirt right there. Just put Blasio on it. Vaccination. Fucking retard. But I love him because you need that. Like Star Wars would suck without Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine just a bunch of goofy people dressed like Burning Man?
Every story needs a villain.
You have to. You have to. So I've learned to love the villains for what they bring out in me. And I know I've been the villain many times. Even if I'm coming from a place of positive intent, we can all influence the impact that we have. And I think we should. And this whole fucking stupid spiritual, that wasn't my intent. Like, well, what's the difference between homicide and manslaughter? In the court of law, it's intent. But in the real world, doesn't matter. Somebody died. Either way. So it doesn't matter what you meant. Fuck out of here. Go do some more ayahuasca. But us being ourselves, our true self is inherently joyful. Our pissed off self, our angry self, our I gotta hustle harder than anybody self is just like, fuck you, dad, or whatever. That's not who we really are. Who we really are is these peaceful little kids that just want to play together. And maybe that play looks like you're going to play the role of bully, and I'm going to play the role of the guy that gets my ass beat. And then you're going to go and figure it out 10 years later that, man, I was a real asshole. And then you're going to become like nicer. Neither of those is better or worse. You have to have all of it. And so even the shit that happened, like, last week, was it, with the Charlie Kirk video? Somebody asked me, they said, what do you think about Charlie Kirk getting killed? I said, I don't. Ask me what I think about the video. I'll give you opinions. But in my mind, those are two completely different things. One, I can verify. The other, I don't know. I saw a video. I saw pixels on a screen. I wasn't there.
What's your opinion on the video?
Fake what? We'll go there in a second. Or maybe on round two. I will say this. Because most people, almost everybody, has been so conditioned to react to authority, those that are least likely to react to authority are some of the first ones to react to groups that feel powerful and that mirror their own values back to them.
That's funny. I've seen that.
Yeah.
I haven't had words for it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
wait, say that again.
Yeah. So when somebody who's conditioned to respond to authority, they're very easy to control. You just wave a flag, play a song, have the big kahuna, wherever they are, president, premier, prime minister, whoever the authority is. And the people that are easily controlled will just do whatever they tell them. Mm. The ones who have more agency are hard. You can't control them with authority. So you have to use social proof. So you have to have a party, a movement, a character, a figure who's saying and doing the things that they either believe or wish they could believe, who's saying and doing the things that they wish they were saying and doing. And what that does is they take their agency and they project their agency onto that person. Now that person becomes a proxy for their identity. Which is why when the Charlie Kirk video comes out and you see a guy go back and you see this liquid coming out like this, a lot of people felt like that was personal.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
They like, oh no, that happened to my guy. And it's fascinating because I don't have any teams. Like I am on Team Human in general, Team Jesse specifically. And I intend, I hope, I pray that in the near future that there would be a team elder family. Because like, how can I not have kids, man? This would be fucking crime. But I've also been so avoidant for so long. I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to have kids. I'm so special. I'm just a time piercer. Nobody understands me. I'm an alien from the future. You're not good enough. It's like, I think I'm getting over that shit. Anyway, if I have a family and now that's my team, I don't give a fuck about political parties. They're dying anyway. And they're dying because they have to keep ramping up the spectacle. Mm-hmm. So when this video comes out of a fairly famous guy who says a lot of things that a lot of people agree with, says a lot of things a lot of people hate, and the video comes out that looked like him getting shot, and then everybody was like, it's like, you weren't on that team yesterday. But now there's so much emotion, and you can add your voice to either saying, this is what I believe in, which you wanted to say anyway. Now you have a reason to say it. Or you can go get mad at all the people that are saying something slightly different than you think, slightly different than the way you see it. And you don't have to explore nuance. You can just make them the bad guy. And when you can immediately make somebody else a bad guy, by default, you are automatically the good guy and you don't have to do anything. It's like winning the game without even playing. And so we're going to continue to see this happen over the next, it's going to be really awesome over the next couple of years. Those that are tapped in, more like self-authorized, basically going to be like Teflon covered bowling balls. Like nothing can stick to you. Nothing can fucking penetrate you. You cannot be fucked with because you know who and what you are, and there is no authority outside of God. If you don't believe that, and you think that render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, well, who wrote that?
Caesar.
Bingo. And it's like, okay. Like I had a conversation with Jesus a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, I never said, believe in me. I said, believe me. Like, look what I did. Believe me. That's the proof. What I've done, you can do. He said, they put the word in me, believe in me. And they created a deity so that you feel like you're less. I was like, good one. So we're headed into some very exciting times for people that are have the courage and the creativity to be completely self-reliant, number one. Number two, co-reliant with others that they deeply value and connect with. Diversity is dangerous. Like diversity is so dangerous. There's studies, a buddy of mine sent me something today. There was a New York Times article like 20 years ago. There was the most comprehensive study on diversity ever done. And in every area where diversity was forced, people trusted each other half as much. The volunteering went down, voting went down, all the things that are like civic communal things, people stop doing when there's too much diversity versus what happens in a more homogenous community. And I don't see that has really much to do with race or gender ideology or gender. It has to do with shared values and frequencies. Like they're given the choice between a black friend of mine who's like fucking dialed in or a white acquaintance who's an absolute piece of shit. Like I'm colorblind. I'm reading frequencies.
It's like, culturals and your culture and your values.
Yeah.
Like, do we match with that?
Yeah.
Versus you have a completely different view and what is important to you, which is basically kind of what's happening in Europe, probably on purpose.
Oh, big time on purpose.
The flooding into Ireland, UK, France, all over the place. And it's probably some of the reason to just grab more control because of chaos.
Total destabilization.
Yeah.
Speaking of chaos, my bladder is in chaos right now. I'm going to piss and then can we resume?
Perfect, because mine is too.
Great. Pee break.
Okay, we're all going to go pee together.
Yeah. We're all going to hold swords.
Just do a little eye gazing.
Yeah, exactly.
And just welcome to Austin.
We can kind of make a quick pivot to, like, we've started touching on it, but I'm curious, what is your definition or your ideology around becoming ungovernable and becoming sovereign?
Yeah. first I'll say the word sovereign isn't something I use very much.
Okay. How would you define it?
Human.
Human.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just a little housekeeping on that. Sovereign. One of the definitions is a ruler. And so when a lot of people say it, what they mean is like I got myself. Yeah. But the word is very easily misinterpreted, and there are actually legal ramifications that if someone is a sovereign citizen, that they're trying to be in competition with the government, and they are now labeled domestic terrorists because of it. And there's a lot of people who are violent, they're unstable, they're completely unhealthy, like they need help, and if they don't get it, like they need to be I want to say prosecuted, but like they need to be, society has to take care of people that are threats. And there are people who are threats who use that term sovereign citizen because they're just mentally unstable and violent. My approach to that is very different, and it's a very peaceful one. And it's more a very much an appreciation of someone who does believe that their job is to maintain order by telling others what they can and can't do. So I start from the place of like respect. Like you put on Kevlar to feed your family every day. Like I can't imagine how hard that must be. Like I truly respect that. And if there is to be a interruption in my time, or an interruption in my physical movement, or a presumption of some crime that I committed, or an imposition of a fine or a fee or a charge, I'm happy to have the dialogue. I just need to see where you can prove jurisdiction. Because, and this is a whole other thing, but the first sentence in the 14th Amendment, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are both citizens of the state and United States citizens. So there's 3 times in that first paragraph or first sentence where it's basically saying you're both. Like you are a natural human being and you're a U.S. citizen. U.S. citizen is a corporate entity. It's a fictitious entity. And so if somebody presumes that you are this fictitious entity and you don't know you're not, then you can't say no. And your silence equals consent. And so when it comes to not just legally or lawfully, but just freedom in general, an inanimate object, this can of water, that plant, these phones, like if it belongs to you, you purchased it, or you made it, then you control it. And doesn't mean somebody can't swoop in and control it, but it's very obviously like that's yours. Mm-hmm. So what about our bodies? Can anybody else force your right hand to raise? Well, they could bribe you. They could ask you. They could tell you. They could threaten you. They could manipulate you. They could influence you by having a bunch of other people raise their hand, or they could physically grab your hand and raise it. None of those changes the fact that it's your hand. It doesn't belong to anybody else. It is your hand. It is your property. What you do with this hand is completely up to you, and you get to have the rewards or consequences of your use of your hand, your body, your words. And so the idea of someone else controlling my right hand is hilarious. It's hilarious.
Unless it's a Dutch rudder situation.
Or one time in Amsterdam, but yeah. But then if that then extends to my time and somebody says, hey, we should meet up. I'm like, why? Why? I'm not opposed, but why? Like why should we do that? Well, I think it'd be good to jam. For who? Well, there's a lot I could learn from you. Maybe. Like, what's in it for me? I thought you were spiritual. Yeah, this is what advanced spirituality looks like. So the automatic giving, oh yeah, here, let me give this to you because you want it or because you need it. That's communism. If there's evil on the planet besides kratom, it's communism. fucking communism, man. Absolute evil.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, your need means that those that have automatically have to give it to you. Well, who's going to make that happen? Oh, the party. Cool. We'll do that.
Yeah. Your lack of preparation does not constitute my emergency.
My emergency. Exactly. So extend out this concept of and I wouldn't even say ownership, because I mean, this is God's hand as far as I'm concerned. And that energy, which I understand as God, is ultimate sentience, but also has no skin in the game, doesn't have emotions, isn't passive aggressive, isn't happy when you do this from this book and sad when you do that from that book. Who wrote that book? Oh, men. Cool. Not saying that it wasn't inspired, but I'd rather just go to the source. Like, I don't need the user manual. So this isn't my hand, but I am a steward of this hand. So the money that might come to someone, if you have a corporation and that money goes into the corporation, governments created corporations, therefore a corporation has to abide by the rules of the creator. Government created corporation, but government did not create human beings. So if somebody receives payment, and that could be a lot of different words, it might be income, it might be a donation, it might be a gift, it might be an exchange, it might be a barter. But when a man or woman receives money, that's their money. So how does it make sense that someone else say, excuse me, you have to give me or us some of that money? I'm happy to. If that's the law, I'm happy to. Please show me where it says I am a taxpayer. You're a U.S. citizen. Show me where it says that. Because I've got paperwork on file with return receipts, basically saying, thank you very much for your letter. Thank you for unsubscribing. Have a wonderful life. Call us. You ever got lonely? Everything is voluntary. Everything is voluntary. So if this body is mine to steward, so is my time. So are my words. So is my energy. So is my attention. So is my money. These are all mine to steward so that I can fulfill my spiritual purpose on this planet. And it's an impossibility, a physical impossibility, emotional impossibility, a social impossibility. It's a metaphysical impossibility for anyone else to get between me and the Creator. Can't happen unless through my consent. That's why the myth of the vampires, you have to let them in. Once they let them in, they can kill you or turn you into an undead. But you have to invite them in.
So in the eyes of the law, and I'll play devil's advocate, let's say you've removed yourself as a U.S. citizen to become a human.
Well, not to become a human.
You are keep your rights as a human without subscribing to the governmental overlords of citizenship.
Well, I'm happy, and I hope there's some watching this video. Like, I'm happy to do anything that I am lawfully and legally obligated to do. You can't become a natural being. You arrive that way through deception or trickery or social proof. You can not learn that this is a fiction, and therefore it's real. But the whole key, in my experience, the whole key to this is truly being peaceful. And if I've gotten some really like cool calls, and this is agent so-and-so, and we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. Amazing. I understand you're trying to contact Jesse Elder. I may be able to help you with that matter, but I never authorized that name to be used for commerce in the corporate state of Texas. Mm. So there are 7 questions that you have to answer first before I can proceed. Let me know when you'd like to get those questions. Call me back at this number or this email. Have an awesome day. I look forward to hearing from you.
So then so if someone wanted to get to a point where you're at, is it a series? Obviously you need to know the law. That's step 1. Like, you need to really study it and get it. Is it also filing a series of paperworks and like becoming something?
This is the best part.
Is it both?
This is the best part. It's
we already have this. We just don't know how to use it.
That's also it. Okay. This is the best. This is so good. Just like fighting. Well, fighting is combat and confrontation. This doesn't always have to be, but there's so many similarities. There's no right way to defend yourself in a street fight. There's no right way, like this is the path to protect yourself or someone you love if somebody's trying to attack you. But there are ways that work and there are ways that don't work.
Right.
And so this is what is so fascinating about the law, and the difference between the public realm and the private realm is there isn't a way to do it. There are thousands of ways, thousands. And they're so customizable according to your values and your vision, to your spiritual principles, to the work that you do in the world. And most of what I had been called to do is just to educate people so that they know what questions to ask.
Got it.
And then they can connect with, there are people that I'm very, very close with who I trust implicitly, who have billionaire grade legal architecture that's been looked at by lawyers and IRS agents and everything else. And they're like, yeah, this is airtight, invisible, and bulletproof.
Shout out One Stupid Fuck.
No. Brandon's cool. Brandon's cool. Brandon's a very good source of education, but he does something different.
Okay.
Yeah,
Different guy.
He does something different.
Cool.
Yeah. The people that I am connected with are not very public.
Got it.
And so every time I introduce them to somebody, it's someone who's already gone through. The main thing is that somebody has to be in alignment and that this has to be true. Like it's truth.
Right.
It's not a loophole. They're not trying to get out of something. Right. They have to really be like, holy shit.
You have to believe.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Like I fucking knew it. I always knew it. And my fucking gym teacher that tried to own me and tell me I had to do these things, that's the same thing that I've been doing. It's healing, man. It's some of the most powerful spiritual development on the planet.
I bet.
Yeah.
So aside from the spiritual development, which is sure a massive piece of it, what are the benefits to a human living on this landmass if they go through this process?
Well, again, the benefits are very unique to them.
Okay.
Things that I've heard are, it's pretty awesome to know who and what you are, and that if someone would like to do business with you, that you can invite them. You can write a letter of conditional acceptance, say, I accept your invitation under these terms. And it's like being the only guy in the room who knows jujitsu, and everybody else is like a Tai Chi master. There's literally zero way that anybody can ever be a threat to you. Now, when people have a low frequency, they immediately go to, what about Waco? What about Ruby Ridge? Well, I don't know those people who were involved. I do believe it happened. And that is an inevitable manifestation of a preceding frequency. And so, like somebody was asking me, I've had this many times, they're like, what if you go to jail? And what if a fucking meteor lands on my head? Like, what if I get struck by lightning 3 times today? What's the point of asking these what if questions? That's your fear. I'm not afraid to go to jail. I'm not afraid to fucking die. I can't die. So even if my body were to be forcibly kidnapped and put inside a cell, it would most likely be for a white collar crime, which I didn't even commit, but I fucked up on the paperwork, or I didn't say the right thing. Oh, and now I have a 5-year federal vacation, which is hilarious considering that I didn't even pay for it. And now I'm getting room and board and some of allegedly the most amazing networking on the planet. And now all I have to do is just think every day. Do you realize how awesome that is for me?
5-year Vipassana?
How do I sign up for this? So yeah, there's zero fear. Those who are incarcerated inside first before the bars ever appear around them. I'm free on the inside. And it's a physical, metaphysical impossibility for something to form around us that didn't already form within us. So there's as many benefits as somebody wants to have. Tactically speaking, which I think is a part of your question, it depends. I mean, if somebody is a taxpayer or they have a tax-paying entity that is lawfully and legally bound to send 12%, 24%, 46% as their per the contract, and all of a sudden they change their entities lawfully and legally to become private. And so it is no longer a legal taxpayer. If they tried to pay taxes, they'd actually go to jail for perjury. So then the recapture of those assets can be deployed in any way they want. I do believe that it is best, actually it's the only option, that those assets are redeployed in ways that are in highest good, in alignment with their spiritual values. So like I will never work with somebody who they're like, oh, I paid, 3.2 million last year in taxes and I'd rather buy a yacht. I'm like, yeah, I'm not your guy. Nothing against yachts. I think they're cool, but I'd rather hear, like, is that the highest, I'm not judging, but is that the highest thing that your soul is calling you to do as a steward of this money? And you ask people a few more questions and they're like, oh shit, this is real. And then next thing you know, they're forming a land collective or they're, forming a land trust or a PMA or something. And then now we're talking closer to the land, closer to God, closer to each other. That's somebody I'll talk to.
What you've done, you have your own property in Bastrop, yeah?
Last I checked. Yeah. Haven't been out there in a while.
Some private entity does.
What's that?
Said some private entity
some private
does.
entity
You
does.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's a beautiful piece of land. But there are people who are, man, there are like Curtis Stone. Curtis Stone is an absolute legend. And Curtis, if anybody wants to learn homesteading, check out Curtis. Like he's legit. And he's super savvy in law too. So he's good.
What inspired you to get that piece of property?
COVID. Like I was on a road trip in that summer and I just started to really feel like get land. And it was very driven by like, I became such a prepper in like April, May, June, since then, and of 2020, and land just felt like the right thing to do. So found a piece of land, bought it, and the intent. This is a big blind spot for me, but and it goes back to the whole of freedom and avoidance thing. The intent: get this land, build this permaculture fucking paradise. Let's do structures and theater and podcast studio and shooting range and dojo and podcast or pod learning for kids and a racetrack for thoroughbred Arabian horses and it's just like this is what it's going to be, and it has very much not been any of that. We've had great team, but without my complete, dedicated, passionate direction. They've done an amazing job, and we've had a couple of guys who have been instrumental. Orion Black was a guy that I met through a client, and Orion came in. We worked together for like 2 years, and he flew every month, flew down here, and I retained his services, and he just drafted this vision, this plan, directed the work, and made a big difference in the beginning of it. And then Darren, who is living out there now, is keeping an eye on things. But I've also told him, I said, man, while I'm in all this other transition, like this is a personally funded project. It's the most expensive money thing that I've ever done because every month is just like putting into it is not a business. So I'm not a model for it in that respect in any way, shape or form.
What is the output of it?
Oxygen.
Great.
Those trees just spit off oxygen like nobody's business.
Good. I use that.
That's about it. Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. You may be a customer. Yeah, there's really no output right now. Like it's just a beautiful piece of land.
It is.
It's all raw.
Really nice.
You've seen it.
Yeah.
So that will change in one way or the other. I mean, if I am supposed to continue to steward it, then that will take off. If I'm not, then it will go to somebody that will. And I'm peaceful either way. When are we going to talk about anything deep, meaningful? This has just been really just
Well, I think
pretty surface level.
I think we only have like
kind of lame.
Yeah. We should probably just not even release this one.
Yeah, I think really just try it again.
And there's a bunch of other things I want to talk about, but we only have like 7 minutes, so we don't want to open those cans of worms.
We can open them and then we'll have episode 2.
And then just close them real quick.
This is copywriting 101. Keep a couple loops.
That's right. I have a course on open loops coming out.
Yeah,
I'll tell you about
it. I'll tell you
when. I'm curious to get into the conversation of like AI, right? One thing that's extremely popular right now is all the different AI podcasts, AI videos. That paper they did, the AI something 2027, that super long research paper that came out, those two guys, about like the 2 possible outcomes. I watched like what was considered a short summary that was 45 minutes about it, which is extremely interesting. And I'm curious your perspective of where things will go in the next 5 years as well as 10. Because for me, seeing stuff change so rapidly, and I don't think a lot of people are aware of how rapidly it's going to change. I also think it's going to be a period of time of great creativity, entrepreneurship, more time to dive into spirituality and health and well-being, living to 150. But you could easily go the opposite direction and maybe demise quicker if you subscribe to the negative possible outcome. So that's why I kind of asked about the land, because I think personally that for myself is an important thing to have in your portfolio as things progress. Because the things, if over time AI, let's say, does take a lot of roles that humans, or there is a lot more chaos because say all the white collar workers that are sitting behind office chairs, 50% are wiped out and all that. You need a place that, what are the fundamental things that are important? To be able to be in nature, which is so important to your health and creativity, and then the people you love to be in that space as well, and potentially extract yourself from, if you're deep in a city and chaos is unfolding, to be able to pull yourself away from that, as well as you won't be able to rely on, you don't know what's going to happen with food. So it's almost, I see this like advancement as well as going back to the roots of what it means to be a human being, like hunter, gatherer, like philosophy, like the Greeks. Like the Greeks cared mostly about was like literature, physical health, and I think it was like music or something. These very fundamental, important things. They weren't worried about all this other stuff. And so that's probably a very long conversation.
Well, we asked for open loops.
That was
we got a lot of
couple
open
loops. I'll say two things. Number one, I have no fucking clue what's going to happen. And I think anybody who says they do is either selling something or is completely blind to any sort of historical accuracy. If you would have been able to translate a conversation with a Comanche tribe 50 years before the first Mexicans showed up and told them, here's what your next 150 years are going to look like, that would have been like the worst news ever. And then you would have been killed just over 8 days just for being there, let alone saying, hey, your entire way of life is about to end. But if you would have said that to a Comanche war chief or the tribe, when Jack Hayes and the Texas Rangers were literally riding across this land that we're in, chasing Comanches, they would be like, okay, I get it. And then when Quanah Parker, the last of the Comanche chiefs, started dressing in suits and started living in houses and became an entrepreneur, that was one of the most sad things to ever happen. And they were no saints. They were the most murderous, bloodthirsty fucking tribe. No heroes, no villains. It's all, everybody's doing their thing. I believe there's a chance that AI will do to humans what the U.S. government did to indigenous people. There's a very strong chance of that. I think that collectively, the gap between what we can imagine and what we're capable of is bigger than it's ever been. Specifically, when people talk about returning to land or they talk about defending themselves, and it's like, dude, you literally are the weakest person in a 5-mile radius. Like, you don't know how to choke somebody out. You don't know how to fight. You're harmless. You're harmless. So I don't really want to have a conversation with somebody who wants to talk about, like, we should talk about community defense. I'm like, why don't you talk about defending yourself against cheeseburgers? Because you're not doing well.
They're winning that battle.
They're winning that battle. Vaccinations. So it's a lot of hyperbole and a lot of like planning that never turns into anything, which is why, like, with my consulting and coaching, I will only start strategizing and sharing prophecy and then war gaming and running simulations. And we also do peace gaming after I get a sense of what somebody's assets are, what their resources are, what's their history, like do a full diagnostic.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it runs the risk of just becoming one more voice of like, oh, I heard this guy say that he thinks this is going to happen. And then that becomes a meaningful conversation.
Mhm.
So it's it's an ultimate question. We can dive in another time. There is going to be, I believe, there's going to be a bifurcation, and we're already in it. And it's the fake is going to get even more fake. Artificial is going to become so artificial, which also means it's going to be increasingly appealing, undeniably appealing, irresistibly appealing to the human brain, nervous system. Like you literally are fucked. You are fucked. Like I think about my nephews who are teenagers and have Instagram. I'm like, I found a stash of like 30 porn magazines when I was 12 and it destroyed my adolescence. Destroyed my adolescence. Well, I destroyed my adolescence because I also was super shy.
Mhm.
And I had all this like big love and big heart, but didn't know how to talk to girls. And then meanwhile, here's this stash of porn. Then I think about my nephews, 12, 13, 15, 16, and they've all got phones. And I'm just like, God damn it. Take that times a billion.
Mhm.
Humans are fucked, man. Absolutely fucked.
Yeah, when you're going to have a AI headset,
Yes.
a VR headset, you can take, the girl in your class you have a crush on,
Yeah.
put her face on a
Yes.
porn star's body, and then
Yes.
you're just going to lock yourself in your room if you're a 15-year-old
Right.
kid.
And you're
Game
going to have
over.
like the Fleshlight 3500.
Yeah, with
it's just going to
the
be
fucking twisty.
It's going to be changing
Gobbler
cartridge. There's
5000.
going to be Amazon drones going to change the cartridge out for you.
Yeah, your cum cartridge
Yeah.
just gets automatically replaced.
Yeah, and you're like, can you put the goat pussy option in there? And they're like, oh, bad. It's like, it's going to be insane. But that's only going to appeal to people partly for a short time, and then they're going to have like a breakdown and either need real or they'll need more fake. And so there's going to be those splits are going to keep happening. And I don't think the answer it needs to be as extreme as a lot of people think it does. I think people look for extreme because they're bored with their own lives. So the idea of having an extreme solution is more excited than the fact that like their house is a mess, like you were talking about. It's like, how about clean up your house? Maybe. How about text back that friend that you didn't text? How about write a fucking letter to that gym teacher that made you feel like shit and just say, you were a fucking piece of shit. That was so uncalled for. And I recognize you're doing the best you could with what you had. And here's what I learned from it. Hope you're well. And then take the letter, set it on fire. Like, do that. You'll feel better. And then the fear on the outside diminishes because you're no longer distorted inside. Then the whole world starts to look like Eden again.
Great.
So there's tactics, but that's the starting point.
I love it.
Well, they'll have to tune in to episode 2 to get the rest of it. Dude, Jesse, thank you for coming on, man. This was an okay conversation.
This is average. Not bad for a Saturday.
Yeah. I could have done something else with my 2 hours, but I mean, it was awesome. Super great to have you on.
You. Likewise.
And,
Appreciate you guys.
we appreciate you coming and
Appreciate your time.
dude, and for sharing your vulnerabilities, your stories, your wisdom.
Thank
This
you.
was awesome, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah,
More to
one
come.
more time, your podcast restarting up. Just let everybody know one more time.
Yeah.
Where do they find you?
It'll be on the current podcast is on Spotify, Jesse Elder. Right now I'm currently Law Dojo on Instagram. I was Time Piercer for a long time, but I just got this super hit. It's like, no, you need to do law for a while. So Law Dojo, Jesse Elder everywhere else. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, man,
Appreciate it.
good stuff. Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
man.